staring at the deal slip with which it was lined. Then I threw a dishcloth over it and, to change the subject, offered him another pannikin of the holy drink and a stool to sit on. The old fellow perched himself very gingerly upon the stool, which was of the folding variety, stuck the iron-tipped end of his great spear in the ground between his knees, and took hold of the pannikin. Or rather, he took hold of a pannikin and not the right one. So ridiculous was his appearance that the light-minded Stephen, who, forgetting the perils of the situation, had for the last minute or two been struggling with inward laughter, clapping down his coffee on the table and retired into the tent, where I heard him gurgling in unseemly merriment. It was this coffee that in the confusion of the moment Sammy gave to old Babemba. Presently Stephen reappeared and, to cover his confusion, seized the pannikin meant for Babemba and drank it, or most of it. Then Sammy, seeing his mistake, said: "Mr. Somers, I regret that there is an error. You are drinking from the cup which that stinking savage has just licked clean." The effect was dreadful and instantaneous, for then and there Stephen was violently sick. "Why does the white lord do that?" asked Babemba. "Now I see that you are truly deceiving me, and that what you are giving me to swallow is nothing but hot mwavi, which in the innocent causes vomiting, but that in those who mean evil, death." "Stop that foolery, you idiot," I muttered to Stephen, kicking him on the shins, "or you'll get our throats cut." Then, collecting myself with an effort, I said: "Oh, not at all, General. This white lord is the priest of the holy drink, and what you see is a religious rite." "Is it so?" said Babemba. "Then I hope that the rite is not catching." "Never," I replied, proffering him a biscuit. "And now, General Babemba, tell me, why do you come against us with about 500 armed men?" "To kill you, white lords. Oh! how hot is this holy drink, yet pleasant. You said that it was not catching, did you not? For I feel—" "Eat the cake," I answered. "And why do you wish to kill us? Be so good as to tell me the truth now, or I shall read it in the magic shield which portrays the inside as well as the out," and lifting the cloth I stared at the glass. "If you can read my thoughts, white lord, why trouble me to tell them?" asked Babemba sensibly enough, his mouth full of biscuit. "Still, as that bright thing may lie, I will set them out. Bausi, king of our people, has sent me to kill you, because news has reached him that you are great slave dealers who come hither with guns to capture the Mazitus and take them away to the Black Water to be sold and sent across it in big canoes that move of themselves. Of this he has been warned by messengers from the Arab men. Moreover, we know that it is true, for last night you had with you many slaves who, seeing our spears, ran away not an hour ago." Now I stared hard at the looking-glass and answered coolly: "This magic shield tells a somewhat different story. It says that your king Bausi, for whom, by the way, we have many things as presents, told you to lead us to him with honour, that we might talk over matters with him." The shot was a good one. Babemba grew confused. "It is true," he stammered, "that, I mean, the king left it to my judgment. I will consult the witch doctor." "If he left it to your judgment, the matter is settled," I said, "since certainly, being so great a noble, you would never try to murder those of whose holy drink you have just partaken. Indeed, if you did so," I added in a cold voice, "you would not live long yourself. One secret word and that drink will turn to mwavi of the worst sort inside of you." "Oh, yes, white lord, it is settled," exclaimed Babemba. "It is settled. Do not trouble the secret word. I will lead you to the king and you shall talk with him. By my head and my father's spirit, you are safe from me. Still, with your leave, I will call the great doctor Imbozwi and ratify the agreement in his presence, and also show him the magic shield." So Imbozwi was sent for, Jerry taking the message. Presently he arrived. He was a villainous looking person of uncertain age, hump-backed like the picture of Punch, wizened and squint-eyed. His costume was of the ordinary witch doctor type, being set off with snake skins, fish bladders, baboons' teeth, and little bags of medicine. To add to his charms, a broad strip of pigment, red ochre probably, ran down his forehead and the nose beneath, across the lips and chin, ending in a red mark the size of a penny where the throat joins the chest. His woolly hair also, in which was twisted a small ring of black gum, was soaked with grease and powdered blue. It was arranged in a kind of horn, coming to a sharp point about 5 inches above the top of his skull. Altogether he looked extremely like the devil. What was more, he was a devil in a bad temper, for the first words he said embodied a reproach to us for not having asked him to partake of our holy drink with Babemba. We offered to make him some more, but he refused, saying that we should poison him. Then Babemba set the matter out, rather nervously I thought, for evidently he was afraid of this old wizard, who listened in complete silence. When Babemba explained that without the king's direct order it would be foolish and unjustifiable to put to death such magicians as we were, Imbozwi spoke for the first time, asking why he called us magicians. Babemba instanced the wonder of the shining shield that showed pictures. "Pooh!" said Imbozwi. "Does not calm water or polished iron show pictures?" "But this shield will make fire," said Babemba. "The white lords say it can burn a man up." "Then let it burn me up," replied Imbozwi with ineffable contempt, "and I will believe that these white men are magicians worthy to be kept alive, and not common slave traders such as we have often heard of." "Burn him, white lords, and show him that I am right," exclaimed the exasperated Babemba, after which they fell to wrangling. Evidently they were rivals, and by this time both of them had lost their tempers. The sun was now very hot, quite sufficiently so to enable us to give Mr. Imbozwi a taste of our magic, which I determined he should have. Not being certain whether an ordinary mirror would really reflect enough heat to scorch, I drew from my pocket a very powerful burning glass which I sometimes used for the lighting of fires in order to save matches, and holding the mirror in one hand and the burning glass in the other, I worked myself into a suitable position for the experiment. Babemba and the witch doctor were arguing so fiercely that neither of them seemed to notice what I was doing. Getting the focus right, I directed the concentrated spark straight on to Imbozwi's greased topknot, where I knew he would feel nothing, my plan being to char a hole in it. But as it happened this topknot was built up round something of a highly inflammable nature, reed or camphor wood, I expect. At any rate, about 30 seconds later the topknot was burning like a beautiful torch. "Ow!" said the Kaffirs who were watching. "My aunt!" exclaimed Stephen. "Look, look!" shouted Babemba in tones of delight. "Now will you believe, O blown-out bladder of a man, that there are greater magicians than yourself in the world?" "What is the matter, son of a dog, that you mock of me?" screeched the infuriated Imbozwi, who alone was unaware of anything unusual. As he spoke, some suspicion rose in his mind which caused him to put his hand to his topknot and withdraw it with a howl. Then he sprang up and began to dance about, which of course only fanned the fire that had now got hold of the grease and gum. The Zulus applauded. Babemba clapped his hands. Stephen burst into one of his idiotic fits of laughter. For my part I grew frightened. Near at hand stood a large wooden pot such as the Kaffirs make, from which the coffee kettle had been filled, that fortunately was still half full of water. I seized it and ran to him. "Save me, white lord," he howled. "You are the greatest magicians and I am your slave." Here I cut him short by clapping the pot bottom upwards on his burning head, into which it vanished as a candle does into an extinguisher. Smoke and a bad smell issued from beneath the pot, the water from which ran all over Imbozwi, who stood quite still. When I was sure the fire was out, I lifted the pot and revealed the discomfited wizard, but without his elaborate headdress. Beyond a little scorching he was not in the least hurt, for I had acted in time, only he was bald, for when touched the charred hair fell out at the roots. "It is gone?" he said in an amazed voice, after feeling at his scalp. "Yes," I answered, "quite. The magic shield worked very well, did it not?" "Can you put it back again, white lord?" he asked. "That will depend on how you behave," I replied. Then without another word he turned and walked back to the soldiers, who received him with shouts of laughter. Evidently Imbozwi was not a popular character, and his discomfiture delighted them. Babemba was also delighted. Indeed, he could not praise our magic enough, and at once began to make arrangements to escort us to the king at his head town, which was called Beza, vowing that we need fear only harm at his hands or those of his soldiers. In fact, the only person who did not appreciate our black arts was Imbozwi himself. I caught a look in his eye as he marched off which told